It's my pleasure to introduce a good friend and a former councilman, Sal Minente. He's going to be speaking with us today about some plans and visions that he had for the library before we moved into this new building on Patterson Plank Road. Sal, thanks for being with us. I know you're a very active member in our community. What were some of the various boards or commissions that you served on?
I served on boards at the church as well as in the community. First moving into town, I joined into the volunteer ambulance and served as captain, president, and one or two other officers there. With the church, I became president of the Holy Name Society. Then from there, I became a councilman here in town of the 3rd Ward and served on the planning board as the mayor's liaison to the planning board. I also served as liaison to the police department while serving as councilman. I helped start up the Knights of Columbus here in Secaucus, the Mary Immaculate Council 12769, with a good friend of mine, Bill Dombrowski. We've been trying for years, and became the Grand Knight and joined into the 4th degree, which gave me other offices that I held. So I've been taking a lot of responsibilities.
You're a busy man.
The latest one was I served on the Board of Education as a member and also as president of the Board of Ed.
So you have a lot of education in your background as well.
Yes.
So we can see, where you might be coming from. What role do you feel that before I ask you what your plan was, what role do you feel the library plays in the community?
I feel that the library more or less is almost like a main hub, like our schools for the children, but not only for the children. The library is a main hub for the adults as well as the children. Knowing that you have programs for the preschools, because my son did attend the preschool program in the old library when he was just getting ready to start to go to school. And you go from preschool right into seniors, and also now we cater to businesses. That business come here, they hold meetings, they do their little seminars and so on. And the library is really a very important factor to any community itself. It's be a very, let's say, a missing clog to any community if there was not a decent library in there.
It's important for us to know your thinking because we know you had our well-being in your mind when you came up with a vision years ago. And I'd like you to explain what that vision was for relocating the library.
Well, as you know, there was things going on at the time, and prior to the library board coming, the site that we're on now, I had suggested to do for the fire department, bring 3 fire departments together so they wouldn't be in the neighborhoods anymore, they'd be on the outside, and we wouldn't have to worry about the sirens going off, at night or anything. And on the other side would have been the DPW, but it didn't materialize. But it just happened, which was funny at the time, when we were told the firemen rejected the proposal, that the library board came looking, and I said, well, there's the perfect spot for the library because they're in the center, basically. I feel it's more the center of town because you have the so-called north end right at the bridge, right outside the doorway here, and you have the main hub of the town on the other side. And I felt the library itself would branch the 2 areas together, and the children would have 2 accesses from wherever they're coming from to get into the library. And so that's why I had proposed making the library here on this site, and you can build what, let's say, the community actually need. Instead of we get a building and we got to work around the building, you're starting from scratch. And I did say to them, as we had discussed prior, that if you're going to make a new library, because the old library, the whole idea was to build up on it, and the engineers all said the foundation in the building would not be strong enough to take another floor. I told them, I said, if you're going to build, we need somewhere where we're going to make a good, strong foundation, and that in the future we won't have to come across this problem. We can always go up and raise another floor on the library. And I believe this was a very good site to do it because we're on top of rock itself. We're on bedrock here. So that's why I believe the founding fathers, at that moment, and the library board really did make a good selection of picking this site that I had proposed while I was sitting on the council.
So you're satisfied with this site completely?
Yes.
You changed your plan a little bit from the fire department to the library, but the location was something that you had in the back of your mind as well.
Yes, I felt this was ideal. It's really centered
Right.
because it wasn't to one side or the other. It's dead center between the two ends of the town itself.
Right, right. Yours was a very good plan at the time. I know you ran into, some problems, as everybody does, trying to put something forward. But in the end, it resulted in something that you can live with, and that's negotiations. So we're here. Are you satisfied now with this construction that was done here?
Yes, I'm very satisfied. I came to the grand opening. Naturally, I wasn't on the council at that time, but I wanted to make sure I saw what was done, and I was very impressed over what was put in and what was, let's say, gathered, and how it was all structured, everything, different areas for business, for children, so on and so forth. And after that, I even came back a couple more times and just visited just to see the rest of the building without being pushed with other people that an affair was going on. I was
Right.
able to take my time. And I feel you did a very good job with it.
Well, that's good. And the old library is now still being used for education. You had another idea for that old library
Yes.
building. Tell us about that.
It's the old library building. I was asked, what are we going to do with this building if we build new up there? My suggestion was make it the historical building, where we can bring all our historical facts, because Mr. McDonough was gathering so much at the time. And the small room that he had down in the small DPW building on Golden Avenue really wasn't big enough. And I said, the firemen already have a mini museum here at the library, at that time was the library. They have a mini museum joining the two buildings. And you can continue it by putting the town's museum right next to it. And I felt there would also be a safe haven for the children that are playing in the park, that if they needed assistance or something, there would always be somebody there for them to go to. And you didn't need much parking either at the time, because you don't get that big of a crowd going to the historical museum. So I felt putting the historical museum would have been nice, especially it was an old building, an older building, and the aesthetics of the park itself surrounding it really make it, let's say, look very pretty as a building that would be useful for the town.
I think so too. I think we desperately need a historical society. That would have been a nice spot. Who knows? Maybe someday it will be. But I hope it's somewhere. I hope that there's a museum somewhere. When we were building this library, I thought a third level for the museum would have been nice. But, at the time, you're dealing with budgetary constraints. They couldn't do it.
Right.
So let's see what comes in the future, what our viewers today will say, oh, the historical building is in the spot that Mr. Menente mentioned. I hope so.
Well, I hope we do get one building, because there are a lot of towns now that have, let's say, history of their community in there, and we don't have that at the moment. And
Yeah.
there's an awful lot of history. I mean, I'm basically a transplant from Hoboken into Secaucus. We adopted Secaucus as our town, our community.
Right.
And I would like to see more, because I've been doing some study on the history of the town itself too.
Right. Well, it is an interesting town, and there's an awful lot of history.
Yes.
I know they're starting to put markers on certain historical sites, but I would like to see
We need a building where it's all going to be
where
in
it's
one
all
place.
in one. And some people have wonderful, wonderful artifacts, but they won't give them up until there is an established.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Museums,
So
you know.
They're afraid it's going to be stuck in a closet someplace.
Exactly, exactly. Keeping in mind that this is the history of the library, do you have any special thoughts or ideals you'd like to leave with us? This is your personal dream of the future, or words of wisdom, anything you'd like to leave with our viewers for the future.
Basically, I think more people should do as I did, get involved. When we get people to join our organization in nice Columbus, and I have to get up and welcome them, I always tell them, listen, this organization is what you're going to make of it. The more involved you are, the more you're going to get out of it. And I feel it's the same thing with a community as such as Secaucus. And I've told many people looking for homes, try Secaucus. It's still within 5 minutes of Manhattan. You have to go there. You know, it's a very beautiful community. Taxes are reasonable. The educational system is good. And I tell them, if you're going to come into Secaucus, get yourself involved. Once you're involved into things, you know what's going on in the town. It doesn't just become a bedroom community to you, like some people use it to just stay in the house. That's it. They don't know what's going on. I tell them, you got to get involved with the community itself. You got to love your community. It's your family. This town is like a family. You come in, you take care of each other, and I feel, and my children feel the same way, that maybe if I didn't get involved, the library may not have been placed into this area where it is presently.
That's true.
And 33 years ago, when we came here, my son was just about to be born, and my wife and I said, this is going to be our adoptive community. And the kids are going to go to school here, they're going to be raised here. We might as well just get involved into things so that we know more of what's going on. And I was very happy when I found out that the library board and the town council decided to put the library here where I had suggested many years ago.
Well, we thank you for that, and I thank you for all of your contribution to the town and for your contribution to this history of the library.
You're welcome.